Welcome to the All About You podcast. Today my guest is Simone, who is a professional makeup artist. Simone, welcome to the podcast.
Hi Shayla, thank you so much for having me.
Simone, I have to say I'm very excited about this conversation. I'm very, very interested in makeup and I watch a lot of YouTube videos, so I'm hoping to get a few hints and tips. But first of all, can we start about where did your love of makeup come from?
Honestly, as a child, I used to watch my mom and my sisters apply makeup, and I could just watch them for as long as, I don't know. I remember it being a very interesting part of my day. Like every morning I would wake up and just watch them. And I remember later being in college and my sister gifted me my first eyeshadow palette. And I used to take it to college every day and just like put makeup on all of my friends.
So when did you decide, okay, there is the possibility to be a makeup artist?
I actually had no idea that it was a career because when I was a teenager, well, I personally didn't use the internet like we do today. Like we didn't look up every single thing. I guess I never really thought about it. I just knew that I really enjoyed doing it. And I remember I had finished my graduation and I was like, I had a couple of months free and I was trying to find what my calling was. And one day my mom looks up at me and she's like, oh, I see this article in the newspaper about this makeup academy that's having an open day and you can maybe just go check it out. And honestly, like, I don't even think my mom knew that I was passionate about makeup because I was never really quite, I don't know, I don't think I spoke about it. But it's so random that she just looked at me and she's like, okay, do you want me to take you to this? And I was like, yeah, that would be great. And I went there and there was a makeup artist doing this demo on a model. And I was like, wow, this is super interesting. I'd love to sign up. And I signed up for a month of a basic makeup course in which they basically just showed us products. They showed us brushes. It gave me a lot of knowledge about the basics of makeup and everything that you use and how you apply it. I remember on the last day of my course, the trainer asked all of the students, so what do you plan on doing with the skills that you've learned here? And it was a class of maybe 10 girls, out of which 8 of them were homemakers, they were housewives. And they're like, oh, I'm going to do my own makeup for maybe like parties, or maybe I'll do makeup for my friends and my family. And it was a friend of mine and I who had joined the course together. And my friend was like, oh yeah, like, same for me. I also just want to kind of do makeup on myself and for fun. And I was like, I really would like to be a makeup artist. And my teacher was like, oh, but you know that you can't be a makeup artist. And I was like, why not? And she's like, it's illegal for women to be makeup artists in India. At that time it was. I just remember feeling really, I was a bit shocked, honestly, because it was 2013 or 14, maybe, 2013 when I did this course. And I was like, I mean, in this day and age, really, how's that possible? Like, what's so bad about being a makeup artist that women can't do it? And she's like, yeah, no, it's very dangerous for women to be on sets working late hours because it's a majority of men, obviously. And sometimes you have to work a night shift and you have to go to these very far locations. And just to avoid any trouble, they made it illegal. And I was like, oh, okay. And I was very disheartened. And a couple of months later, like maybe 6 months later, the law changed after I don't know how many years. It was amazing. And I was like, okay, great. I guess this is a sign that now I can finally be a makeup artist.
I am sitting here absolutely shocked at what you have just said. In 2013-14, it was still illegal for women to work as a professional makeup artist.
Yes.
I am in shock, Simone. That is incredible. I think if we talk about makeup artists in general, I generally are thinking of female makeup artists, Pat McGrath, that sort of thing. I am shocked. But thank God for you that changed. So once that law changed, what was the next step for you?
I think the law changed in November of 2014, but just a few months before that. So basically the government was in talks about, okay, so the law is going to change, and I think it changed officially in November of 2014. But a couple of months before that, another very amazing thing happened is that my sister was working with an airline, and she had made this very good friend, and I think the airline shut down or something, but they still kept in touch. And she kept telling me, she's like, oh, my friend works with this amazing German makeup artist, and why don't you speak to him, since you've done this makeup course, it might be a great opening for you. And I was like, yeah, sure, I don't know. And she told me about it a couple of times, and finally I was like, you know what, I was extremely timid, and I was like, I don't know, like, why would someone hire me? Like, what do I have to offer? And she's like, just meet him. I mean, what's the worst that could happen? So I was like, fine, okay, I'll do it. So I messaged him, and he's like, sure, let's meet up for a coffee. And I was like, okay. I met him we spoke for maybe like 5 or 10 minutes. He's like, okay, so what's your experience? And I was like, I did a basic makeup course. And he's like, okay, do you know how to style hair? And I was like, no, not really, but I can learn. I'm a fast learner. And he's like, all right, okay, well, it was great to meet you, and yeah, we'll keep in touch. And I was like, all right. And I wasn't really expecting much. And I remember going to my friend's house, and I was just like chilling, and they're like, so how did your interview go? And I was like, yeah, it was all right. I don't know, like I'm not quite sure. And maybe half an hour later, my then mentor, he calls me after the interview, and he's like, so I'm on a shoot right now, do you want to come by? And I was like, oh yeah, great. And it happened to be very close to where my friend's house was. So I was like, sure, I'll be there in like 15 minutes. And I go there, and he's like, okay, just like, just watch, like, you don't have to do anything, but I just want you to know what you're getting into, because a lot of people do this or want to do this thinking that it's a super glamorous industry, and like it's just all about fun, and like, I mean, it's great, but there's also a lot of hard work. So I was like, okay, I understand, I'll just watch. I went to work with him every day for 2 weeks, just watching, just observing. He also had another assistant at that point of time, so I was also learning how his assistant worked and how he liked things done. And after 2 weeks, he's like, all right, let's meet up for another coffee and have a conversation. So I was like, okay. And he's like, what do you think? And I was like, I think it's amazing. Like, I understand what you mean by it's hard work, because he was and is a workaholic. Like, sometimes he would take even 2 jobs a day. And when I'm saying 2 jobs, like, one job is a minimum of 8 hours, sometimes more. So his schedule was super packed. And I was like, okay, like, I understand that it's hard work, but I'm ready. And he's like, okay, great. And yeah, he took me on as his assistant. I worked with him for about 2.5 years. Yeah, it's been quite a journey.
I have to say, I'm a great believer in the stars aligning, and the stars align for you. Your mother saw this advertisement in the paper. Your friend then got talking to somebody else at the airline, and on it went. It was written in the stars, wasn't it, Simone, for you? And to have this opportunity just to, come down and observe, and then being offered a position must have been like a dream come true for you.
I mean, honestly, at that point of time, I didn't even know who my boss was. Well, his name is Daniel Bauer. And I didn't even know, because we didn't have like Instagram, and we didn't like, I didn't really watch a lot of Bollywood movies. I didn't know a lot about the industry. Like, he was and is still extremely famous, and he's super talented. And like, when I obviously got to know him better and got to know the kind of work that he does, I was like, oh my God, I'm so lucky. I'm unbelievably lucky, and then I met so many other people through my career that have been like, oh my gosh, you got to assist him, like, how lucky are you? Like, I would die for that position. And I was like, yeah, I mean, I don't know, it just kind of fell into my lap so easily. And I remember when, after my 2.5 years, we had a process of, I would find a new assistant for him to take my place, and I would train them up. And I remember interviewing so many people, because we put ads out, and like hundreds of people responded saying, oh, I would love the job, please, I would love the job. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, I'm like, I can't believe that I got this job without going through this process. Like, it literally just fell in my lap, and I do believe that the stars aligned for me, and yeah, I'm truly blessed.
So once you had decided to leave your position, what was your next step on your journey?
So once I decided to leave, I will admit I was very nervous because, as I said before, I've always been quite a timid person, and I was like, okay, working for someone else is amazing. Like, I'm great at like taking orders, I'm great at following instructions, but when you have to do it for yourself, and especially as freelancer, you have to find your own work, you have to put yourself out there, you have to market yourself. And I was like, I don't know how I'm gonna do this, but okay, like, it's time that I fly out of the nest. Things just started like falling into my lap because I was so lucky to have assisted him. People through his contact got in touch with me, and they're like, oh, you assisted him, you must be amazing, so yeah, we'll definitely hire you. And I was like, wow, okay. And like jobs just started pouring in for me. Yeah, just little by little, my little business grew.
So when we talk about the world of makeup, there's a very wide spectrum. We've got the ladies on the cosmetic counters working for particular brands. We've got beauty for catwalk shows. We've got makeup artists who are doing editorial for magazines, that type of thing. Can you talk to us a little bit about the type of makeup you have done? You obviously didn't have to sort of tread the boards and go on a makeup counter and go through the training of that particular makeup brand. You are only using those products, and you've got the prescription of the skincare and the makeup and that type of thing. But as a makeup artist working freelance, you have got all the brands, all the techniques, the world is your oyster. Can you talk, Simone, about the type of things or the type of jobs you have done as a freelance makeup artist?
So while I was assisting Daniel, I think I did every kind of job. He trained me for backstage fashion shows, he trained me for editorial photo shoots, for TV, like for ads, for movies, for weddings. I think I've done every type of job that there is under the sun. When I did step out on my own, this very intensive training helped me because I was always prepared. I was like, I know what I have to do. Like nothing was so new. Yeah, it's been great.
So if we talk about, for an example, if you are doing the makeup for models on, let's say, a catwalk, yes, you've got the designer has given you, okay, this is what the girl's going to be wearing, this is what she looks like. He's then got a vision of what the hair and makeup should be to go with that outfit. And then you have got to bring his ideas to life, which I should imagine could be quite complicated. But then you've got to think, okay, these girls are going to be moving, they're going to be under hot lights. That's obviously going to affect the makeup. Depending on, is it outside? Is it in an inside venue? Is there lots of humidity? What's the lighting going to be like? I mean, it sounds so many different things you have to consider. And then if we look at brides, okay, what's her vision of what she wants to look like? Is it somewhere hot and humid? What type of image is she looking for? Does she want to look her best version of herself? Or does she want something completely out there that's going to wow everybody? Can we just talk about some of those different sort of problems and how you go about that type of thing?
I believe there's no one way to handle any two clients. For example, as you said, when it comes to fashion shows, there are some designers that have exactly, like they have a vision in their head of exactly what they want, and you help them carry it out in the best way possible. If you think that maybe their vision needs a bit of tweaking, you could always advise them, and depending on obviously your rapport with them. Yeah, but I mean, some designers will have it very, very clear. Other designers are open to they'll be like, okay, this is like, I know clothes, you know makeup, so you tell me what you think is going to work with these clothes. And they just have faith in you and your vision, and you'll kind of come together. But of course, at the end, you run your hair and your makeup idea through them. And yeah, it's a really lovely process, because that way you get the freedom to create like a whole, like you look at the models on the ramp, and you can see the designer sees his beautiful work there, and you see your beautiful work, and that's something that you created. And that is one of my favorite moments working on fashion shows, I have to say. It's crazy backstage, like it's insane. Everyone's in a hurry, everyone's trying to work really fast and like create these amazing looks. And then like you're backstage just before the show, giving every model a touch up, making sure that they look perfect, and they walk out and it's just silence, and you can see them on the monitor backstage, and it's amazing. All of us, like all of us makeup artists, our whole team used to love to just stand there and watch your work. It's really cool. Apart from that, with brides, it's pretty much the same way, that some brides know exactly what they want, and some brides always ask you for your opinion. They're like, you know better, like I'm not really sure, I don't have a lot of knowledge about makeup, for example, you tell me what you think would work for me. So you always get references ready, and you kind of show them a variety of looks and say, what amongst this, what do you like, what do you feel calls out to you, what do you feel like works with your personality? And then they choose, and then you kind of understand what their aesthetic is. And of course you ask to see pictures of their outfit, of their jewelry. You need to know whether it's an indoor and outdoor wedding, especially in India. It's a huge difference. Yeah, and then you kind of you work together with this bride to make them feel super confident, and I think that's super important. Some brides like to wear minimalistic makeup, and others prefer to wear a bit heavier makeup, and that's absolutely fine. As long as your bride feels beautiful and confident on her big day, you've done your job.
I think that last sentence, to her to feel confident and beautiful on one of the biggest days of her life. I mean, I can just welling up thinking about that, because a bride comes to you, as you say, she might be so used to doing her day-to-day makeup, but for her wedding, she wants something special, and it's got to last a long time. It's got to go through the daytime wedding, the night partying. You can make a huge difference to people's lives. I mean, yeah, we're both getting a bit emotional here, particularly with the brides. So let's talk about makeup. Makeup can be incredibly expensive. And talking to a lot of women, we have all got drawers full of stuff that we bought, we thought was going to be great, and we get it home and we put it on, and we are, what were we thinking? One thing I love on YouTube is we get makeup dupes. I think that is great. Now, if anyone doesn't know what I'm talking about, for example, you can have a very well-known brand of makeup, and let's say we're talking about an eyeshadow, and then women who are interested in makeup will scour all what they call the drugstores or the cheaper brands, and they will come up with a product which is basically identical in colour, in texture and wear, all that type of thing. I love a dupe. I think it's fantastic. And, you know, I've found a couple of dupes myself, and I think, right, instead of paying €22 for that, this at $3.99 works perfectly. No, it hasn't got the fancy packaging. No, I'm not going to see this advertised in a glossy magazine. This is the product. It does what it says, and it's brilliant, and it saved me a lot of money. Can we just talk about your kit?
My kit has a mixture of tons of different brands, of course, because especially when it comes to like foundations and stuff, I need many different brands because they work differently on different types of skin. I think my foundations are the most varied, but I mean also my eyeshadows and my lipstick. Okay, fine, everything. I do have a lot of brands, but it's true that I have a mixture of what people would call premium brands and also drugstore brands, because like you said, I do believe that it's not just about the brand, it's about the quality. And a lot of drugstore brands have amazing quality. Like I would prefer it over any top name any day. Like there are some things in my kit, like for example, I have a couple of kohl pencils that I've been using the same brand. It's a very basic drugstore brand for years, and I think it's much better than any other. I'm not going to take any names, but I think it's better than any other premium brand that you would spend into 5 for. Yeah, and I think that you can definitely find dupes of most products. There are very few products that maybe have a particular finish that maybe a drugstore brand might not, but I think you can definitely work with any and all brands.
So it's interesting you brought up about foundation. My experience personally, foundation has been the hardest thing to get right, and I still haven't got it right. And I would hate to think how much money I have spent on foundation. As you say, different brands, different formulas, different textures. We've got foundations that are supposed to last for 48 hours now. I mean, I'm a bit confused, as in, who actually needs their foundation to last 48 hours? I can understand somebody's getting ready for work in the morning, they put their face on. Okay, I need this to work from leaving the house at 7, getting home at 7 o'clock at night, or maybe out in the evening with a little touch-up, etc. I'm just wondering, with these makeup brands, and I think mascara is a good one, how many times can you reinvent mascara? Every 5 minutes, there are certain brands and they seem to have a new formula, a new type of wand, etc., etc. Let's just talk about all these makeup products that are being reformulated, redesigned.
Well, that is actually a great point. It's something that I like to bring up with a lot of the students that I've trained, with a lot of clients that I've worked with. Marketing it's a scam. I think like mascara, for example, exactly, it's the same composition. No matter what name is on the brand. Yes, some wands are better for application. Yes, some products do have a higher quality of product, but I mean, how different could it be? That's why you just need to find a brand, and it doesn't have to be an expensive brand. Just find a brand that works for you. And I do prefer, honestly, my mascara. I think I usually use drugstore brands. Yeah, I find them much better than a lot of other brands that I've tried. And they also don't dry up as fast, which I do find with higher like premium brands. And when it comes to foundation, that is a problem that everyone faces. Even any new makeup artist learning the skill their first problem with makeup is always getting the foundation right. Once you have your kit, you know it so well that you know how to mix and match, kind of like a chemist, to get the perfect proportion for each person. And I know that a lot of people invest a lot in makeup. Like my sisters, for example, tell me all the time, they're like, we'll go to a makeup store and the attendants will help us. They'll like put makeup on our face and be like, oh my gosh, you look amazing. And you feel amazing in that moment, and then you buy the product, you go home, you try to reapply it by yourself, and you're like, I don't know, it's just not looking quite the same. I think that it's tough to be able to find your right tone, but my pro tip, I think, for everyone would be always have two tones. Any person's face doesn't have one even tone throughout. You usually have slightly lighter patches and slightly darker patches. My recommendation would be to always buy two tones. One slightly, like one shade lighter than your skin tone, and one shade darker than your skin tone. And then you have to mix them in the right proportion. Also, of course, with the changing seasons, like for example, in the summer, people tend to get more tanned. In the winter, they tend to not have as much sun. So, of course, your foundation is not going to stay the same. If you have these two tones, you can always mix and match just a little bit to get that right, that perfect fit for your skin.
Oh my God, we're getting a masterclass. Now, Simone, you are now living in Valencia permanently. So what sort of work are you doing here in Valencia?
Well, to be honest, I've been here for 1.5 years, but I spent, up until last month, I was studying Spanish, because I feel like communication is super important in life in general, but also especially in my job, because I need to understand my clients' needs and I need to explain to them what my vision is. And for that, I felt like I needed to have a good level of Spanish to be able to understand and to be able to explain myself. So I've only just entered the job market within the last month. I've reached out to a lot of people. It's a bit tough, of course. I mean, I have so many years of experience behind me, but I left all that back when I moved here, and it's been a challenge to start over. But I do have faith that things are just going to work out. When you're good at something, like it comes naturally to you. Like it'll find its way to you. And I feel like with recalling my whole story of how I became a makeup artist, I feel like everything's always come to me so easily, and I really have faith that it's going to find its way to me again, even in this new city. And I have reached out to a lot of people, and they've been extremely like supportive and warm, and they've been so lovely. They were like, oh, we really like your work and we'd love to work together with you. So yeah, I'm just kind of waiting for things to fall into place. But yeah, I'm hoping for the best.
Simone, I am sure these stars are going to continue to align for you. Absolutely. I think we need to do another podcast, because I think going underneath the bonnet of the makeup industry, I think would be absolutely fascinating. Simone, thank you so much for being a guest on the All About You podcast.
Thank you so much for having me here, Shayla. It's been lovely talking to you.
I really enjoyed that conversation with Simone. So thank you for listening, and I hope you did enjoy the conversation. So please subscribe for future episodes on whatever platform you are using. It is free. And please share this podcast. And if you have a story to tell, please contact me on allaboutyoupodcast@yahoo.com and let's tell your story.